what's going on? Your screen's a black. What's happening? Your screen's a black.
Oh, I'm so frustrated. Every time I get in the middle of a project and I walk away, I come back and my keyboard and my mouse are froze up. So I have to keep rebooting the computer. Apparently the USB ports just are randomly turning off. It's so frustrating.
Oh, that's super frustrating. I cannot help with your screens. That's not my expertise. Thank goodness it's yours.
Well, hi there. So thanks for dropping in. So I wanted to do a quick follow-up video to my new computer system that I did a video on 6 months ago. That was the end of 2025. We've had a few things happen since then. Number one, RAM's kind of gone sky high. So that's an interesting one. But one of the problems I've been running into, I've had some intermittent USB disconnections. I don't know if any of you have had the same problem, but I've spent a lot of time troubleshooting. If I were to add it up, probably 6 hours researching, making tweaks, configurations. Most recently, let's see, global C states on CPU settings, disabled the CSM support. I reinstalled all the chipset drivers to make sure they were from the manufacturer. And most recently upgraded the BIOS. And I was running, and just as a reminder, this is a Gigabyte B550 series, so an AM4 system. And apparently there's some conflicts between the Ryzen CPU and this motherboard, which causes these intermittent USB problems. Now, I find this interesting since it's a last generation system that this is still a problem in 2026. But apparently it is, because I'm experiencing it, and I know many of you are too. So I've tried all these things, and there's a whole nother list of things I could just spend hours on. But before I do that, I decided to do just one simple thing. So I have it in my hand. This just showed up from Amazon. Nothing fancy, but this is an inexpensive, we're talking $25, $30 USB 3.0 card. Now this one, I really like this one. This has got, looks like 5 ports here on the back. It's got another 2 internal ports. So essentially what's happening is the USB ports that are coming from the motherboard are getting turned off. And then they get turned back on. But most of the time I have to reset my system. So I've done some research and have found that if you remove those USBs from your system and go with a separate card, that you can bypass that problem. Now I already have one USB card in there that I moved over from my previous system. And that's driving all my external hard drives for backups and such. So my biggest problem is I run a wireless mouse and keyboard, like most people do nowadays, which runs off Bluetooth. And when your keyboard and your mouse go out, there's nothing you can do other than shut down your system and reboot. And then it all comes back. So we're going to try this card, and I'm just going to take you along with putting this card in. So one interesting thing, when I originally configured this system, I was looking at an MSI motherboard. It was the recommended motherboard at the time. And I chose to go with this Gigabyte B550 because it had one extra expansion slot, which was really important to me. But what I didn't realize was when you put your graphics card in, your GPU, they're so wide that it takes up the space of 2 expansion slots, which explains why MSI had a big blank spot in there and one less slot, because it didn't matter. So I learned something with that experience, and maybe you can use that as you configure your next system. But I do have one slot left available, so we're going to plug this in and I'll take you along with. And then we'll see how it works over the next few days. This has been an intermittent problem. After I updated the BIOS, it actually got worse. Go figure. So, in fact, over the weekend, I think I rebooted 4 or 5 times. So, not fun. So let's get this fixed. Stay tuned. All right, so I've disconnected all my cables. I've got the cover off my case. So whenever I take my computer apart to do anything, the first thing I want to do is clean things out. I've been going to do this for a few weeks now. You can see I've got some dust accumulated up here, and I got a lot of dust around here. So I like to do 2 things. I take the vacuum hose to the outside and suck this dust off. And then I have a compressor in the garage, so I go out and use the compressor to blow air out of the fan and the heat sink and some of the internal components. Now, if you don't have a compressor, canned air works. And or you can get those micro vacuum tube or vacuum connectors that hook onto your vacuum and clean out small devices like computers. So that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing we're going to do is, like I mentioned, this is a last generation computer, so made for AM4, and that means that both my Wi-Fi and my Bluetooth, which are back here, are also last generation. So number one, this is my desktop, so I don't use Wi-Fi on it. It's hardwired. So I'm just going to pull that off and put that away, that antenna away with some of my spare components. I'm also going to take off the Bluetooth because when I got this, I went and bought I think it was a $15 more updated Bluetooth dongle off of Amazon. And so, in fact, I'll link that in the description along with the link for the card if you're interested. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned out, and then we'll come back and insert that card. All right, we've cleaned the system, removed the extra antennas, and it's time. So I'm just going to remove on this case, just removing my little retainer. It holds down my cards. So my extra slot is right here, just above the power supply. It's on the end of my board, if you can see that. And this card is just a PCIe times 1. So it just doesn't require a big slot, but that's all I've got left is a big one. So let's make sure we're pulling out the right blank in the back of the board here. Looks like it's that end one. So we're going to knock out our blank. It is nice when you're playing with proprietary systems like a Dell or something where you can replace those, but not the end of the world. Okay. So I am curious about these 2 internal slots. I'm going to see if it's possible to reroute my front slots to this board. That would be convenient. Okay. This did come with its own screw. And a nice little Ziploc bag. Okay. Let's see, and then I'm gonna have to take off the back panel. So if you watched my first video, and if you've worked with most of these modern cases, they have hidden areas for all the cabling, which takes the mess away from inside your case. So I'm gonna have to open that up and find out where that USB is going and coming from. Work with this one, but this is definitely, I don't know if there's a burr in this one or not, but I need a little more leverage than this little screwdriver. There we go. Okay. Got that snug. And then we'll put our retainer back on. I find it interesting that that thing was that's why. Interesting design. All these cases are a little different. Again, I've been working with Dells all my life, and they are quite well designed. Love it for that. But this works. Okay, so we got the card in. Now let's take a look at our front USB port, see if we can figure that out. All right. So this other side comes off just like a typical back panel. We got two retaining screws, thumb screws. Slides out sideways like this. So you can see here. So this is a USB 3.0. This, well, I'm assuming these have something to do with the USB. Well, I don't know. The USB 2.0s are coming off a board here, circuit board. I don't know if I can help those. Because they seem to be built in with other things. So we're just driving power to that board. I may not be able to help that. So basically on what we call the front panel, which on this case is basically the top, we've got two USB 2.0s and one 3.0. So we may be able to replace that 3.0, but then we've got the ones on the back panel, which are of course directly built into the motherboard, so we're not going to fix those either. So it looks like all we're going to be able to replace is this one 3.0, and we'll just reconfigure this cable to our new card instead of to the motherboard. I guess it helps. Okay, so let's take a look back inside the system and see if we can figure out where this cable goes. Kind of looks like a mess, doesn't it? That's why we get to hide it nowadays. So it goes down. Well, I'll figure that out and I'll come back and show you guys. So I find this very convenient. It is the cable that we were looking at in the very beginning, the one that runs right through here, and it plugs in to the motherboard right there. So all we have to do is unplug it and plug it into our new internal port on this card. And we will reroute that USB 3.0 to the new card. Now, the one thing I didn't mention about this card is self-powered. It has its own built-in power ports, and it's designed to provide 5 volts up to 12 amps and 10 watts distributed through those ports. Now, I'm reminded that it looks like this is my other USB card. It also has internal ports, and I didn't even think about that when I plugged that. And then, of course, I wasn't worried, didn't know I had a problem with my front ports. So this will be awesome. So let's get that changed. Yeah, I know I should have better lighting. Just kind of the way it happened. Now that's an interesting... That's a big end on that cable. Maybe this isn't going to work like we thought it is. Let's see what it looks like. Boy, that's a... tight fit. Is it tight because it's tight, or is it tight because there's a release somewhere? I do not see a release anywhere. You guys probably can't see that anyway because I've got this ribbon cable in the way. That powers some of the other motherboard items, like audio and a few things. Just gonna have to get my hand in there. Okay, we've got it out. Yeah, all right, well, it was a nice thought. That's not gonna work. Oh well. All right, well, I'll plug that back in. I'm going to do a little more looking around here, see what else we can figure out. Anyway, we've got it installed in the back. So now you can see I've got 10 USB 3.0 outlets that are independent from the electronics of the motherboard. They are self-powered. They're only drawing power through the motherboard, and they are self-reliant, so we should be in good shape. We're going to power it up and run this baby for a few days, and unless you hear back from me, you'll know it worked. So thanks for tuning in.